Matt, where are you going?
I'm going past the Golden One Center. I got to get back to the studio. Sorry, I had to run home really quick and squeeze my kale. So,
Well, okay. All
Wow.
right.
All
So,
right. That was not that was not
yo,
necessary.
I got to
they
get ready for dinner. I got to get ready for dinner. What are you talking about?
You guys are jerks. All of you. And your children. Every single one of you is a child.
Come on, squeeze my kale. What do you think was going to happen?
Yeah, I should have known better. I absolutely should have known better.
So
Matt,
wait a minute, Matt. You said you're leaving to go to One Center. So were you just there for the Arizona game?
oh yeah, this is off to a
I
good
was
start,
there. I was
Matt.
supposed to be.
This is off to a great start, Matt. This is really
I was
good.
supposed to.
Nope. Now you're unfrozen.
Is it bad? Uh
Yeah,
oh.
no, you're fine, Matt.
I'm good. I am.
Yeah, no, this is
Sorry.
good. Yeah, no, it's fine.
No, this is great. This is exactly what we wanted. No,
Yep.
I was supposed to be from the Golden One Center all day, and unfortunately, the love of my life left her keys in my car, so I had to run back and give her keys so she could go pick up my son.
No, that's
So
your fault.
we're good.
Remember that. It's your fault.
Oh no, it is my
Why
fault.
did you take the car?
That's tough because that's not a short drive either. So I hope when
Nope.
you got home, you apologized.
Profusely. I called her on the way home to apologize for her leaving her keys in my car.
Yeah, that's how you got to do it, man. You know, why did you take the car?
Yeah, that's facts.
Who told you to do that? My John.
So Matt working hard. Matt, let's talk a little bit about last night's game, and let's talk a little bit about number 5, De'Aaron Fox, and his latest moment in a season full of moments, that game winner in Chicago.
I mean, I think everybody in that arena knew that shot was going in. Like you heard the Chicago Bulls broadcast. It's like I told you. And I mean, Mark Jones had an excellent call of it. Just even with the shock of the 4-point play and DeMar DeRozan getting to the foul line when he shouldn't have, and hitting that free throw, and us going, "Oh God, this feels like Kangs." And then for De'Aaron to dribble. I mean, we've talked about D'Lo, the confidence that Damian or that De'Aaron has. And he's kind of just shown this cool swagger all season long. Like, yeah, like what he said after he hit the shot. Like, I know I'm nice, and he's had that confidence about him. It's just this quiet, like, go ahead and throw whatever you want to throw at us. We don't care. We still gonna win. Like, and that shined through in that moment. Everybody's talking about what he said. My favorite part is the whole shrug. The picture that was caught, like as soon as he hit the shot, he turns towards the Kings bench. He just shrugs, like he knew it was in. He knew that was his spot. And then he said in the post-game interview, which I thought was really good, he said, "There's no pressure. Like, I missed the shot. We go to overtime, so we good. So I had no pressure. I just put up that shot it over 2 defenders, and it was nothing but net. So anyone who wants to say that De'Aaron Fox can't shoot threes, he'll just continue to prove you wrong."
Getting that tattooed on my arm.
He continues to amaze me with not the fact that like he's able to do it. I always thought he had the talent to do all of this stuff, but just to see the confidence in the way he plays, and like he's always confident, but the confidence seems to skyrocket when the pressure builds at its highest point in a game. Like he is more comfortable later in games than anybody I've seen in a long time here in this city with this franchise, man. And you know, it's a joy to see. It's great to see as a fan of somebody that's watching the game. You have a level of confidence knowing that the guy that's kind of running the show is as confident as anybody in the gym in those moments.
And I'm telling y'all, man, there's still another level. Like, this is still not the biggest, brightest stage that he's going to play on in his career. There's still another level that he is going to take it to in the playoffs. And, you know, we talk about, and Mike Brown spoke after the New York Knicks game, like, I got to find a way to get De'Aaron to flip that switch and play that way for 33 to 35 minutes. Like, maybe we think about it like this. Fourth quarter, De'Aaron Fox, there's nobody that's been better in crunch time. No one that's really been better in the fourth quarter than De'Aaron Fox this season and helping the Sacramento Kings win games. But is De'Aaron in cruise control for the first 3 quarters, not just so that he can do that in the fourth quarter, but so that he has enough left in the tank to do that for 35-plus minutes a night in the playoffs? Like, I still think there's that level to his game that he has yet to unlock. And if De'Aaron Fox isn't a household name now, which he absolutely should be, Like, the way that people are going to talk about De'Aaron Fox going into next season is going to be completely different than he's ever been talked about before in his career. And it's not because of what he's doing right now, and it's not just because he's going to win the Jerry West Clutch Player of the Year award. I mean, that should already be in his trophy case at home. It's because when he gets to the playoffs and all eyes are on him, even those that say they won't watch Kings basketball are still trying to besmirch Kings basketball. They're going to watch playoff basketball when he performs on that level and truly shows that he cannot be denied. That's when the conversation about De'Aaron Fox is going to flip from, oh, it's cute what he's doing in Sacramento, this is a fun story, to, no, he's one of the best point guards in the league, and there aren't too many people that you'd rather have the ball in your hands with the game on the line.
And while De'Aaron's heroics in the final seconds of the game have garnered much of the attention today, Domantas Sabonis had his third triple-double of the last 4 games, just the casual 14, 17, and 10. And rightfully, everyone remembers how the game ends. Domantas Sabonis, Matt, was a big reason they were even in that position.
I'm sorry, D'Lo, are you talking about the guy that people said when he came to the Western Conference he was going to get lost and would never make an All-Star game again? You're talking about that Domantas Sabonis? Because
you'll talk, Matt.
For some reason, people think that you come to Sacramento and you just forget how to play basketball. And unless your name's like George Hill or Marco Bellinelli, that's just not the case. Like, Domantas Sabonis has come into Sacramento, and not only has he played to the all-star level that he was in Indiana, he's taken his game to another level. Now, I think there's a lot of people that deserve that credit. Of course, Sabonis deserves that credit for playing the way that he's playing, especially through a broken thumb. Mike Brown deserves that credit for being a defensive-minded head coach who has unlocked that part of his game or has put him in a position to succeed. And then De'Aaron Fox and the rest of the team, I think, deserve a lot of credit for that, too, with how they play off of him and how they play through him and the amount of trust that they play or what that they put in him when they play. So Domantas Sabonis, again, I've been saying it all season, and I will continue to say it until someone actually allows it to register in their brain. Nikola Jokic, the back-to-back MVP, might be 3-time MVP, is the only player that is doing, or the only big man that is doing what Domantas Sabonis is doing in the league. And we look at him as rightfully one of the best players in the league, but it's not that steep of a drop-off from Jokic to Sabonis. It's just not. Now, I'm not going to say Sabonis is on that MVP level, but there's no way that you can make an argument that there are 3 better centers in the NBA than Domantas Sabonis. It's impossible. Now, I'll take Jokic at all-NBA first team and Joel Embiid at all-NBA second team. That should be a lot. But you cannot find a big on this planet that belongs in that third-team spot. And then, like Mark Jones has been really lobbying for, and Mike Brown has been really lobbying for, I don't think you can deny, even if his stats maybe aren't as impressive as guys on losing teams who are putting up upwards of 30 a night, like, you can't deny De'Aaron Fox's significance, not just in crunch time, but throughout the season and the numbers basically being up across the board. Like, De'Aaron Fox deserves all NBA recognition too. And I hope the NBA gets it right, doesn't put him in as a reserve for some dumb reason if somebody gets hurt or whatever. I know that doesn't happen in all NBA circumstances, but give him the recognition that he deserves the first time. Domantas and De'Aaron both deserve that respect.
Well, look, I want to go back to Domantas real quick, because I agree with everything you say when it comes to De'Aaron Fox. Well, that's an all-NBA player for sure. But we talked about, you brought up Sabonis and you talked about how well he's playing, and you're like, well, I'm not here to say that, he's on par with Jokic. And I'm going to start to ask the question, well, why not? Why not? I know there's analytical things that you could say, but you just look at the traditional numbers: 24.7 for Jokic, 11.9 rebounds, 10 assists. Domantas Sabonis is 19 points a game, 12.4 rebounds, 7.2 assists. Like, and Jokic is the number one option on his team. I think we can say Sabonis, while he initiates offense, he's not the number one scoring option. If he was, maybe he would have that 24, 25 a night. I mean, his numbers, like you mentioned, Matt, it's not a steep drop off. It's not far at all from what Jokic is doing.
No, and that's why I'm saying the gap between the two isn't as big as some people want to make it out to be, simply because they're not paying attention to Sacramento Kings basketball. And I would argue they're not really paying attention to Denver Nuggets basketball either. It's just Nikola Jokic appears on their TV on SportsCenter more often because of the ridiculous numbers that he's putting up. Now, maybe if Sabonis is the front runner of a team that is a championship contender multiple years in a row and he's putting up ridiculous numbers, then he'll get that kind of recognition. But to your point, Kenny, like, nobody should be looking at Jokic and then looking at Domantas Sabonis and saying, wow, they're like, those two players aren't on the same tier. Plus, when we see the two battle and go head to head, Sabonis, I would argue, has had just as much success against Jokic as Jokic has had against Sabonis and the Kings so far this season. So, I mean, maybe a slight edge to Jokic in that sense, but yeah, the gap is not big. It's not that nearly that significant of a drop off. And I hope people start to recognize that and pay attention to that. And on top of that, like, this won't count necessarily in all NBA standpoints too, but where I give a lot of love to Domantas Sabonis is when he recognizes which guys are hot and then he completely changes and transitions his game to feature them. Right? We talk about how he says, De'Aaron, where do you want me? You want a ball screen? You want me in the corner? Where do you want me? And that's typically in the fourth quarter. But we saw a fourth quarter Kevin Huerter the other night against the Milwaukee Bucks. And every single time up the floor, it was Domantas Sabonis' mission to not only get Kevin Huerter the ball, but give him enough space to let it fly. Like, I'm not saying Nikola Jokic is a bad teammate. I don't know him that well. But I don't see him doing that for his teammates in Denver the way that Domantas Sabonis is doing that in Sacramento, because if he did, we wouldn't be questioning the supporting cast in Denver as much as people do.
I want to elaborate on that a little bit, but I also want to acknowledge that how Matt got to his destination safely. It was very entertaining for those that U-turn
he made. I said, wait, whoa.
It was very entertaining watching Matt drive, as for at least 10 minutes, he looked like he was lost. He just was taking in the scenery, like he didn't really know what was happening. But he swiped his car, he swiped his employee badge, didn't miss a beat. Matt really multitasking here as he continues his long day of work over for ABC 10. You talk about finding guys in the right spots, man. Malik Monk in that second half yesterday was a massive reason why the Kings were able to pull that game out. A completely different first half than second half. Obviously, it was led by those two brothers from Kentucky.
Well, what you're speaking to is something that I've tried to articulate as well as I can on Locked On Kings, and I can't do it in a way that I feel gives it proper justice. But, like, of course, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis are the heads of the snake, right? They're the front runners, and they get all of the, or most of the attention for the success that the Sacramento Kings have, and rightfully so. But this Kings team continues to win. Whether you're pointing to the Kings winning in Phoenix off the backs of Trey Lyles and Kessler Edwards and the bench, of all people, the bench having a 65.9 or whatever they had. You've had nights where Malik Monk has struggled offensively, but has been a playmaker and an energizer bunny without scoring the basketball. Then you have nights like last night where the Kings desperately needed that scoring in the second unit because Trey Lyles was missing. And I hope for Kings fans, any fan that was not still 100% on board with what Trey Lyles was doing, is not a Trey Bay yet. I hope that they got an understanding now of how significant that he is to the team and how significant he is to the second unit, because offensively that second unit looked lost in the first half, trying to figure out how to score and how to incorporate their offense without number 42 standing in the corner. Is he 42 or 41?
41.
41, number 43, standing in the corner or standing on the wing or wherever Trey Lyles, he's hitting shots from all over the floor at this point. So Trey is an extremely important piece, but going back to Malik Monk, not to sell him short, I mean, he's had different moments over the course of this season where he has directly represented the success of the Sacramento Kings by stepping up in different ways. You need playmaking, he's got it. You need energy, he's got it. You need a big three-pointer, he's got it, and then some. Whether he's dropping 45 points like he did in Los Angeles or putting together the performance. I think he had like 19 points or something like that last night. Like, this roster is loaded with players that can and will step up on a moment's notice. And I imagine that has to be incredibly fun for Mike Brown and his coaching staff to watch, even in a game like the Milwaukee game that they lose, to see Kevin Huerter catch fire the way that he did in the fourth quarter. And all I thought about during that hot streak was
all I thought about during that hot streak was, remember when he struggled in the 3-point contest, and we spoke to De'Aaron Fox after the All-Star game and asked him about Kevin Huerter's performance, and De'Aaron, and I can't say exactly what he said, but De'Aaron said, like, we don't give an F. Like, we know who he is. We know we can count on him when it matters. And again, the Kings lost that game to the Bucks, but they would have had no business even being remotely close in that game without Kevin Huerter in that fourth quarter. This roster is loaded with guys that can step up on a moment's notice, and that's what I think is going to be a difference maker in the playoffs that enough people aren't talking about. Maybe De'Aaron has a bad game. Maybe Domantas Sabonis gets in foul trouble. But Trey Lyles, Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, all these guys are capable of stepping up. Hell, Terrence Davis gets some run, suddenly he's scoring 30 points. Like, any one of these guys can step up and fill that gap immediately and pick up that scoring load, which makes it incredibly difficult for any quote-unquote playoff defense to handle.
You real quick, you talk about Trey Bay, right? I remember when Morgan brought that up on the post-game or pre-game to Drapes, and the Philly came out and Drapes, he said, I ain't nobody's Bay now. No, said, I don't know about that. I ain't nobody's Bay. Drapes went back to Broad Street. Hey, man, I want to ask you something real quick.
Drapes is funny, man.
He said, I ain't nobody's Bay around here. So, I don't know if you heard what we were talking about earlier. You've been busy, so you probably didn't. But I had a question or a thought or a comment that this Kings team today is the third best team in the history of this franchise time here in Sacramento, only being surpassed by the 98-99. That's the first year of Jason Williams at number 2, and obviously the 01-02 team. But I said right now today, this 2022-2023 team is already number 3 on that power ranking before playing in a playoff game. What you think about that? You think that's too high for him too early?
Nah, I'm with you. And I think there's an argument that could be made for number 2. I really do. Like the way that they play, the historic offense. Now, granted, game's a little bit different today than it was offensively at that time, but regardless, you still can't deny just how deep this team is and how good this team is offensively. Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made for number 2. Like, nobody's touching the 0-2 Kings and that group, and maybe this team can develop into that. Maybe they're an off-season piece or 2 away. I heard what D'Lo was saying about having Clutch on your side and Rich Paul on your side during the off-season. That gave me a lot of excitement for maybe something that even we didn't see coming happening this summer, or for Monty to work his magic. I will say one thing too, D'Lo, going back to a comment you made. The best thing Daryl Morey ever did was train up Monty McNair and allow him to move on and take his own franchise so that he could outshine Daryl Morey. It's only a matter of time. But other than that, yeah, Casey, I think 3 is absolutely appropriate, and already nipping at the heels of 2 with just how deep, how talented the numbers that this team is putting up. And I think like for a team that is entering the playoffs the first year they're together, they enter the playoffs for the first time. Like, I think it's very feasible that this team is going to win a playoff series. And I mean, for the Kings to go from a position, like we talk about climbing the rungs of a ladder, a team that has missed the playoffs for 16 years, can't even get into the play-in, jumps the play-in altogether, and arguably will jump all the way up to home court advantage in the opening series. Like, that cannot be ignored. So I think top 3 is absolutely appropriate. Maybe number 2 is more accurate.
Real quick, Matt, before you get back to work, what do you think about tonight?
I mean,
Kings have been, or 30 minutes from now.
Oh, that's right. Crap, I do have to get to work. Kings have been really good on the second night of back-to-backs. When they're playing teams on the second night of a back-to-back, that's where they've struggled, which makes no sense. But hey, there's a lot of things that haven't made sense with this season that are still enjoyable. But Kings have been really good. They've handled their business on the second night of a back-to-back. But I'll say this, like, out of this 4-game road trip, I thought tonight's game was the most likely that the Sacramento Kings are to lose. If they drop it, I'm not saying that they're going to drop it, but if they drop it, as long as they handle their business coming up in Washington to make up for that bad loss against Washington at home earlier this season, and then they handle their business in Utah like I expect them to, you can live with absolutely a 3-1 road trip. Then you go into that game against Boston, you find a way to win that game against Boston. I'm telling you, if the Kings go 3-1 on this road trip and beat Boston, they're an absolute lock for a top 3 seed. At that point, like, mathematics, I don't care if it's mathematically still a chance they drop. It's not going to happen. Like if the Kings make it through that stretch with that kind of success, like they're a top 3 seed, you can write it in permanent marker. But if they lose tonight, certainly not the end of the world. I would like to see more than anything tonight a team that looks a little more focused and does a better job taking care of the basketball, because there are far too many uncharacteristic, just sloppy, unnecessary turnovers. Many of them just being the Kings would get the rebound and try and almost like panic outlet, get the ball to a guard and just throw it to the Bulls. They did it like 4 or 5 different times last night. So clean those up, look a little bit sharper. If they are sharp, they're going to have a chance to win this game tonight.
Get to work, Matt. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for making time for us in your busy day.
Little do you know, I'm just in like some parking lot somewhere in Sacramento. I'm faking you.
Carl's Jr. bobblehead. That's what it is. Matt was the first to find out. Thanks, Matt. We appreciate you, man.
We appreciate you, big dog.
See ya. Bye, guys.